Welcome everybody back to the next episode of Citizens of Gaming Podcast. I'm Tim.
Hey, I'm Josh.
And I'm Brenden.
So, like I said, welcome back. We're gonna get this episode started off with a little bit of news around the gaming community. Some news that kind of came out today about Call of Duty is a cheat ploy to bring in some anti-cheat to Warzone. I'm not buying it. I think that they're easily going to find a way around it.
Yeah.
Well, apparently it already got leaked. So
It
apparently hackers are already digging into it.
quote unquote leaked.
Yeah,
It
they've yet to comment on it too, I've
was
noticed.
purposely released so that way they could already start finding the workaround for the anti-cheat.
Oh,
I mean,
100.
it was going to happen anyway.
Absolutely.
There's so much money in that game, there's no way it wouldn't.
No, the only way that they're going to get around hackers, cheaters is you have to pay for your account.
Yeah.
Simple account
Eh,
bans isn't going to keep people from playing a game when you can create a new one for free.
No, there's
that,
definitely a lot of
that is
things
true.
they could do that they need to do, probably won't do to fix
Absolutely.
these situations.
Now,
And what other gaming news do we got out? I mean, what the Avengers game is hit Game Pass.
And is now charging money for XP boosts after they made the grind harder. That was a couple
Hey,
months
here
ago.
you go, it's free now, but wait, we got to charge you money.
I mean, it wasn't free before, but they specifically one of the problems with the community was that the community was like, hey, like, there's a lot wrong with this game. We still want to love it. And then their response to that was one of their, patches at some point was to make the end game harder, or not harder, but like more grindy. And and that was a patch. And then the community was like, this was not what was wrong with the game, and this is not what we requested. And so now that it's hit Game Pass and a bunch of people can play it already, they are trying to nickel and dime those people to get XP boosts so that they can play the game like it used to be.
that's that's ridiculous.
I mean, that game has been
I
a
mean, coming from
ship on fire.
oh, I mean, I personally played it. I like it, but I tell you what, that's just
Everyone, like, from what I hear, the campaign is actually very good. Well, maybe not very good, but is like enjoyable and entertaining. The problem is the live service aspect afterwards, where you're grinding for gear and running the same 5 missions over and over again
yeah. Once
because
you
there's
beat the
nothing to
campaign,
do.
well, yeah. Once you beat the campaign, that's there's not much to do but to grind.
And then
Yeah.
they just made that worse and less fun. It was already not very fun to begin with.
Yeah.
Oh, good. And then, Josh, you had some news, right?
More along the lines of what the next Dragon Age circulation. This ain't fact or from series
Rumors
sources,
around.
but that is most likely going to be next gen only,
That's not
which is
surprising.
interesting.
I can see them starting
Yeah,
to slowly fade out last gens. That's no surprise there, honestly.
It needs to happen, I think. I
I
mean,
mean, it'll happen
Yeah,
eventually.
yeah. I mean, obviously, the 360 is irrelevant now that we're how far into Xbox One's life.
well, I mean, plus look at all these current games that they're
7 years,
splitting between.
8 years.
They have all these current games they're splitting between new gen and last gen. I mean, that are so ambitious that they're
Well,
crashing hard on last gen consoles or you
yeah,
know.
some of them are problematic, but other ones aren't. Like there are
Well, and it's like
plenty that work just fine on both.
the Battlefield beta that just came out. You could only play either the Xbox One or the Xbox Series. You couldn't. There was no like backwards
Crossplay.
crossplay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's because the Xbox One and PS4 version is going to be very
Massively
limited
reduced.
compared
Yeah,
to, yeah, like the map sizes are like half the size and only like half the players or something like that.
I mean,
yeah.
is that going to carry into the actual physical copies? Where if you play with, if you're on next gen, you want to play with your buddy, you have to go download the last gen version. I mean, is that what
I
they
don't.
were
I don't see why you
hinting at?
couldn't just join his lobby and let him host, and it'd be on
No,
his
you can't.
servers.
No, you can't cross-play between different generations. PC,
See, I had a
PS5,
feeling
and
that was going to happen.
Xbox Series X will all be able to cross-play with each other.
Yeah,
and then PS4 and Xbox One will be able to crossplay with each other. So there's like
Wow.
two separate tier player bases basically.
that's
I figured that would be a thing because of
I
how the betas were.
I get it because the next gens are gonna have such bigger maps and bigger players or more amount of players inside the server. I
Yeah,
get it.
Yeah. Well, I
it
mean,
is
plus
basically
in
like
the
half the
advance.
size in the
Yeah,
older gen.
and then
Yeah.
the last little bit of news that we want to wrap up with, which I'm absolutely stoked about. I don't know about you two. The Grand Theft Auto trilogy is getting a remaster,
Yes.
and I could not be more excited for that. You're talking about like my childhood games that I grew up playing are
Oh,
now going to be able to play on a series or PS5.
I'm I don't know. I'm curious to see what's gonna happen. Like I'm excited and I think it's great. My one of my problems though is that they're taking the old games off the market. They've already done it. Like they're gone. You can't buy them anymore.
Right.
oh,
Um, so I wonder if these remasters are also going to let you I mean, for lack of a phrase, turn a switch and play it like it used to be. Um,
oh.
What do you
God, what
mean?
game
or if
did that?
or if you're gonna have to play it in the new way, which isn't a bad thing, but I don't
What
know,
do you mean
kind
by that?
of.
I'm kind of confused.
So like they took the original, like because they've re-released those three games like several times. Like you
Right.
can buy it on 360 and Xbox One and PC and everything else. You can buy it everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
So they removed those from sale, and when this trilogy launches, you're only going to be able to play that remastered set. So whatever
Right.
they've done to it. So those
Mhm.
old games may no longer be available outside of like, an original like disc-based version.
So, which brings me
Um,
to my next point with this is I hope that they don't change a lot of the structures of the games. I hope that three still
oh, they
plays
won't.
like threes, and
I don't think
every
they're going to change the structure. Like I think it's mostly just going to be, touch-ups and
right.
enhancements and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
Um, but I do just wonder if, I mean, that's the other thing. They haven't really said how far they're going with this.
No, they've been secretive about it.
I mean, it is Rockstar. They play
Yeah.
very close to the chest.
Yes. What
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic. I mean, even if it doesn't do the old ways of
mhm.
stuff, then I still think it'll be entertaining. It'll be great to play those games again.
I'm
Yeah.
hoping that like if
Definitely.
they, I'm hoping that if they change anything, it's gonna be like not updating the soundtracks, but because now that there's more room because they're not limited to the size of the disc, they can bring in more music from those generations.
They might not have the rights to some of that music
Yeah,
anymore.
music rights is fucked. The
Yeah.
short
So
version of that.
Yeah,
Like they've had to take music out of GTA 5 because the license ran out and they couldn't get it
true.
renewed.
That is
So
true.
we're probably gonna hear new music then. They'll probably have to put in different soundtracks, huh? Or
Hopefully, it just
But
stays true to that generation, though. I don't want to
so,
hear.
oh, they definitely. I mean, Rockstar has
I
been
mean, I'd
very good
Yeah,
hope
about
they
that.
would keep some of that old music in there
yeah,
at least.
And that's the upside is a lot of that music's older, so I
yeah.
don't think it's going to be anywhere near as expensive.
Yeah.
So something I was thinking about earlier with this, and this is kind of far fetched to be honest with you. I don't think it would go that far. Do you think that they're going to bring a multiplayer to any of those three games or to that
Oh,
No,
trilogy?
I don't think so.
hey, San Andreas had what was it like co-op, right?
Yes, it had co-op. It was like split screen co-op or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, I
That would be interesting. I don't think they would because
I
that's a lot of work.
I don't think so either because in all honesty, Grand Theft Auto Online is a fucking game in itself. So I don't see
Well,
them
yeah,
doing anything to
It,
bring
it
that
is.
over to the trilogy.
that's their cash cow right now. There's no way they
No.
would jeopardize that.
But it would be cool to run around the old San Andreas with you two.
It would. I can't deny that would be epic.
And then I don't know if I'm going to get it for Xbox or if I'm going to get it for PC because I'm hoping that the mod support is going to be pretty legit with these games coming out in remaster.
Uh,
Hey,
it would depend.
on that fact, I hope I can click in those OG cheat codes on my controller.
If they
The
don't
left,
remove
right,
it.
up, down. I hope they don't. I'm just saying.
I don't think
Oh,
they would take that stuff out.
that would be great.
But I'm really curious to see what the mod support is going to look like for it. One of the mods that I play for Grand Theft Auto 5 is LSPDFR, Los Santos Police Department First Responders, and
Yeah.
it's where you basically play as a cop. So I'm wondering if they're going to have that same mod and 3 Vice City and San Andreas.
That'd be. How does that work compared to like those live servers with other players? I mean, is
So
that just
this is strictly single player based. You actually mod the actual um, game file itself, and you throw in what you want, whether it be cars or different scripts. They've gone so far now that you can throw in interiors for buildings or different shrubbery and stuff around the map. These servers have kind of the same idea, but instead of you having to do it yourself, the moderator or the admin of that server puts it all in there. So you load it into this server and you play with other people.
reset?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Well, that's
it's
neat. So
yeah,
it's almost like you get to customize your personal story for
yep,
compared to like the online GTA
yep.
experience. I
And
got you.
and the mods that you put in don't specifically have to be for the it's I call it cops and robbers because that's kind of what it is. You're playing as a cop trying to catch bad guys, right?
Oh yeah,
Um,
I think that's the iconic name for it.
but there's other things you can do. There's cars you can add in. There's planes you can add in. It's not strictly just police based. The
Hmm.
police thing it just grabbed a lot of attention because there's so much you can do with it inside this.
That'd be interesting.
Yep. And then the 5M is what you're talking about, the online. It's not even Grand Theft Auto Online. It's a specific server hosted by 5M that you load into. So it has no affiliation with Rockstar at all, which Rockstar's been trying for ages to get rid of.
Oh yeah, with all those updates, why they
Yep.
have to keep updating their mods and
Yep.
got you.
Yeah, circumventing it.
All right. Well, I'd say we dive into the meat and potatoes of this week, and we're going to talk about Destiny. More specifically, D1 and D2, Destiny 1, Destiny 2. Um, so Destiny 1 was released in
2014?
2014
Yeah. Yep.
by Bungie Studios. It came out on Xbox and PlayStation, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, PS4, Xbox One,
Yep,
and
Xbox.
360 and PS3 actually.
Was it at the tail end of 360?
Yeah, the first game came out on both.
That's right. So yep, came out on there, and then D2 came out in 2000,
2017,
2017,
Yep, and
September something.
that is
September
on
6th,
like
I believe.
I'm seeing first release September 6th.
Yeah.
That came out on it's on Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One,
Yeah, well, it came
Microsoft.
out on PlayStation 4, Xbox One,
Yep,
and
And
I think
PC.
yep,
Yeah,
Windows platforms.
and it's now been ported over to Xbox
everything
Series
just
and
about.
PS5.
Maybe what is it? Was it last year? At the end of last year is when they gave the next gen update for it, right?
I thought it was earlier
Uh,
this year
Was it?
because you
it
figure
was early this year, late last year.
next gen's barely been out for a year now.
Well, because I know that's a big reason why they're also not gonna push out a third Destiny
Yeah, I
is
saw.
because they're just doing. I believe they updated the server and they're just gonna keep creating content, continuing it into this next gen.
That's what I saw. Is like 2025 is like the earliest projected date for next Destiny, which I don't know how much truth that is to it, but I absolutely agree that work with what they have now. It's absolutely
Yeah, I
working.
mean,
It's a beautiful game. Don't throw it to the wayside.
no, it's working so far. I mean, like there's a lot of controversy when it comes to like what they're actually trying to do with all the content with like vaulting
Yeah,
said content. So that's, you know, every bit of content you've purchased in the past has been vaulted.
yeah.
And on that topic, the next one to be vaulted is Forsaken, which is, the last of the DLC that's currently running in Destiny at the moment. And it will be taken away. I don't know how you guys feel on that.
I don't understand the whole vaulting thing. What are they gonna do? Bring it in Destiny 4 at 15 years from now?
They're essentially shuttering it. Like they're taking it away from players, which is the most ass backwards thing I've ever heard.
Right.
Like why? I mean, I know that now the game is free to play, which is great, but
Yeah.
like, why are you actively taking content away from your player base? And I know that they run checks and stuff, and supposedly like nobody's playing it, and like no, you can't get any good loot out of it and whatever. But like, there's solutions around that as opposed to just like, just turn it off. Like
Yeah.
Imagine if you couldn't start like at level 1 in WoW anymore, or
Yeah.
any other MMO. Imagine if you
Right.
couldn't start the game anymore. You just start at like level 80 and doing whatever. Like
Yeah.
it's the most backwards thing I've ever heard. I do not
It's
understand it.
Okay. So
it's like content based. Imagine playing like a DLC campaign for like let's specifically aim it towards like, like Skyrim or something. Imagine playing that campaign and all of a sudden they just take it out and you don't get to experience that story.
okay.
Yeah.
It's confusing.
All right. So theory, they're vaulting it. It's the oldest DLC that they have, right?
Yes,
Forsaken? No.
currently. No,
Currently,
currently
yes.
that's running,
Currently
mind
that is
you.
running.
Okay.
They
So
already
currently
vaulted
this
some
running.
other stuff.
Are they working on this behind closed door to maybe add more
Yes.
to that DLC
That's
to
that's
put back
that's
in at a later date?
If
yeah,
so,
that's
they
that's
have
what
not confirmed that.
they did mention in the past, when they came up with this vaulting idea, when they brought back the Cosmodrome, that the point of them vaulting this content is for them to work on it and kind of change it up for possible future additions.
Right.
If bring that content back for some sort of event, or
Yeah.
that's what they mentioned in the past, but they've never touched up on that ever since when they first came out with this vaulting process.
So backing up to where we talked about it being an MMO is a massive multiplayer online. For me,
Role playing
it
game.
was role playing MMO.
Mm.
Yeah, it was one of the first MMOs that I ever got into. I tried playing WoW back in the day and Elder Scrolls when it first came out, Elder Scrolls Online when it first came out. But I really stuck to Destiny because yes, it's an MMO. Yes, you do need other players to do things, but it wasn't so much an MMO that you had to have friends with you to do certain things. There's things you go
It's
off
more
and
or
do by
less a first
yourself.
person.
I mean, it's a much smaller scale.
Yes,
MMO is the thing, because
yes,
your max team size is 3 unless you're doing like a raid, and then you can get
right,
to 6,
right.
Yeah.
or a community event where there's everybody on the server or whatever. But like that's not on purpose.
No, but I'm
Well,
talking about
but
like
also most people are really stuck to first person shooters anyways, just because that's
yeah,
like,
I
the
mean, yeah,
big
that's
thing for
that's
video
the other
games.
thing is
yeah,
it's not the traditional MMO strictly because it's more or less a shooter with
right,
RPG elements.
right.
Hmm.
No, I just like that. You didn't need other people to go do things. Like in WoW, you need like I played with a buddy and he just rushed me through it, got me to like level 100 or whatever the top level is, so we could go do
Yep.
raids. In
Yep.
Destiny, you could just have fun exploring and grinding and doing missions by yourself. You didn't need other people,
That was the best part about its base content, was you
right?
didn't need people to play with. But when they started introducing the raids and stuff, that's where it was kind of harder for me. My experience was I didn't know a lot of people that played it,
Yeah,
so trying to try that content out, let alone beat it, was a
yeah.
task in its own, because you just didn't have anybody to play it with.
So correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a while since we've even played Destiny 1, D1. The raid came out fairly deep into the life of Destiny. So the hype of the game could have
Uh,
been dying down,
no, I mean it wasn't too far in. Um,
No,
but it wasn't on
I mean it
release.
was, yeah, it was not at release. It was like a month or two in maybe. I
was the
think it
Vault of
came
Glass
out.
the first?
Yeah, this is Vault of Glass.
Yep.
It was because that came out before the first DLC did. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and like that was the first big thing, and their first big content drop, their first big free content drop, I should say.
Was the Vault of
Um,
Glass, right?
yeah, yep,
The strikes, those were on release, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
So the difference between the raid and the strike is 3 people versus 6.
yeah.
The raids were much harder, and where it took all
Well, the
6 of you.
size, yeah, the size and scope of the raids were
Wasn't the raid
longer.
like an hour long or something like that?
Depending on
If you were good.
depending on like how you and your team worked together, that would depict how long it would take you guys to complete that raid.
Right,
I mean, yeah, it would depend on your team, you know, who you are, what you're playing with, what characters you are, and
right,
how you chose to tackle each
right.
section of it. Um, because there was like 3 or 4 separate sections, like major
Hmm.
sections
Yeah.
involved with glass.
Yep. And then the strikes were much shorter.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and I believe back during D1's run, I mean, I think there were some raids that were exclusive, or raids, strikes that were exclusive to PlayStation due to the timed exclusivity.
Uh, it was only, I think it was only a couple.
It
It
was like
wasn't a
two. I
lot.
think it was two.
Yeah.
It was like two, yeah.
That's not
There was
bad.
one on release and there was one that got released later.
And so, Brendan, you always enjoyed playing as a warlock, right?
Absolutely. Space Wizards all the way.
Space
Yeah.
Wizards, all the there it is. And then I always favored the Titan.
The meathead, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I was always Team Hunter, 100%. I don't know why. I liked the roguish,
I mean,
uh,
I don't know. I mean, if you break it down, that is sort of the generic stereotype that those fall into is, Warlock, Wizard, Titan is a warrior, and
Yeah.
Hunter is a rogue.
yeah.
Yeah.
But they don't, I mean, especially now, they don't even really, I mean, they do play differently. Obviously, they all have different abilities and stuff, but
Right.
like, they can all do a lot of stuff. They're very versatile. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Right. And so what
Well,
always
that's the biggest thing about the classes too is with that, like how we were, the MMO stuff is they
Mhm.
are very much geared towards that, is like you must understand your character
Right.
and how to use them to utilize them to the best of their ability. And probably more than half the community that plays Destiny doesn't know that. And I think that's the biggest thing
I
that
mean,
I've noticed.
the game is not very when you play a typical MMO, again, like
Mhm.
WoW, like
Yep.
you need, X amount of damage, you need X amount of tanks, you
Right.
need, X amount of healing, yada yada. But Destiny's versatility lies in the fact that you don't really need to have a strict class setup or,
Right.
have a Titan, a Warlock, and a Hunter. Like you can, run 3 Titans if you want to. Like
Yeah. You could have ran.
it's a
Yeah.
testament to its versatility that you can just, again, get 2 friends together playing whatever characters you've
Right.
got and more or less whatever builds you have, and then just go shoot stuff in the face.
I mean, I'd
Right.
have to admit, I didn't understand the full use of a hunter until recently. I always just kind of winged it and was
I think
trying my
that
best to do my best until I recently figured out like there's actual builds specific to that will.
I mean, yeah, there's always good ways to one get gear. I mean, get specific gear to amp certain abilities or whatever, and building certain ways to amplify whatever you're trying to do.
right.
But again, with Destiny, you don't need to be super specific unless you're playing at like the highest of high levels. Like
Yeah,
I mean,
they have those new like pro
if you're if
options or
you're one of
whatever.
those, yeah, if you're one of those like max level players, you need to have that, make sure you've got everything geared towards what you're doing. But
Yeah.
generally speaking, if you're just kind of playing, you don't really need to.
No, that's also the cool thing about it is it's very forgiving for people who don't know that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and it
Which I
allows people to just play it naturally.
which is an MMO is kind of nice because it seemed like an introductory to MMOs without being true to the standards of traditional
Yeah.
MMOs.
Yeah,
Um,
it is like a MMO lighter,
yeah,
baby's first MMO.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, realistically.
Um, no, I remember you would always run Hunter, Josh, and kind of looking at the Hunter now, I can see why you'd run him because he looks a lot like your favorite, your the main character off your favorite games, which would be Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, it's
Josh
that
gets
rogue
put a hood
thing.
up.
It's the rogue thing,
Yep.
just that the sneaky. I don't know. That's in most video games. If I can wear a hood, I'll wear a hood.
Yeah,
I think.
and
Josh
then
is just a
That's
big
what.
fashion guy.
yeah,
No, I mean hide your
Fan of hoods.
face. Hide your face. Stay in the back. Just introvert. That's
yep.
what it is.
One thing that I
Uh,
really liked about Destiny is, and I haven't beat D2 yet, but Destiny 1, it was a shorter campaign, it was a shorter story, but it was one of those games that was pretty heavy in side missions.
yeah.
I think there was, what is it? There was like 4 planets to begin with.
In the first one,
Yeah,
Uh, Earth,
well,
Venus, Mars, and the
the
moon.
moon. Yep,
the
the moon.
moon. I love to go into the moon.
Yeah, I mean, if you really think about it, the first Destiny really didn't have a lot of content in that arena, at least towards like.
Well, the original plan was for Destiny 1 to last a lot longer, and then part of that got hampered because it was on 360 and
Mm-hmm.
PS3 still.
Hmm.
Uh, because eventually, like I think it was like a year after it came out or something, like they're just like we have to abandon these games because all the content we want to make we can't get on those consoles.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, they just outright abandoned it on 360 and PS3, and I mean that really slowed down their ideas and is also what led to the release of, you know, the development and release of Destiny 2. And part of the reason why that's still going so strongly is because now they aren't held back and they knew what they were doing and now they can attach all this content to it
Yeah,
and in theory keep doing that.
and Destiny 2 is based after Destiny 1. I don't remember exactly. Like I said, I haven't played all of Destiny 2 yet.
Yeah, Destiny
Basically,
2.
like right after.
Yeah, it relatively takes place right after the events of Destiny 1, and
Right.
I mean, there's so many people out there. I mean, because I, I mean, I don't know where it stems from specifically, but is a lot of people don't know that that's your guardian from Destiny 1. Well, a lot of people believe that you're just totally someone else. I don't know how that's even a thing, but it's running around out there. It's what I've seen a lot of people talking about, and I guess the transition in between D1 and D2 were confusing for most players.
So
Well,
when
because they had you remake your whole character when it started. Like
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
I think there was a way to import it, but I don't think a lot of people did it.
okay,
I
so
mean, it's also not like the character creators that deep.
Hmm.
I jumped into D2 a while after it had been out. It's been out since 2017. I jumped into it. I think it was about this time last year. So if I remember correctly, and I may be a little confused, is I remember going through the very first mission from D1 in D2.
Yeah, that was actually that was not a thing when Destiny 2 was still kind of
Right.
before it was a when they did was it the cross? It wasn't crossplay. I don't know how they introduced it, but I know it was along the lines of trying to connect it with new players. They brought the new light. It was I think it was called New Light. Um
Yeah,
New Light or Beyond
that
Light?
was the that was the wasn't that the huge that was the name of the cross play update
yeah,
and
I
like
think it was
making
New
it
Light.
free to play and
Mm-hmm.
That's also what I think brought about the vaulting stuff with the content. So it took the iconic what do you call it introduction from the first game that people remember, and they brought it into Destiny 2
Yep.
to bring in new players.
Yeah. And you would
That's what you experienced.
you'd go through where the ghost finds you and kind of revives you,
Yes,
and then you're trying to make your way through the planet.
Plasma Drum. Yeah, what through
Yep.
the big wall to the
Yep.
city. Yeah.
Yep. And you're getting introduced to like the weapon system and how it works. Yeah. I mean,
Which was a pretty nice addition, I think. It's
right.
pretty neat.
I definitely enjoyed it. I really liked being able to play D2 and then kind of look back on D1 because that right there was a memorable moment of the game when you first
Rip
fired it
Dinklebot.
up. And it was a beautiful game. D1 was a beautiful game when it came out, and D2 is
Oh
even
yeah.
better looking. And so it was really nice to see D1 scenes like played on D2.
yeah.
Yeah. It was essentially that vaulting process where they brought it, that little
Right.
piece back and
Yep.
updated it and
Yep.
I mean, I even created a new character just to kind of go do that again.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember that.
It's pretty neat.
Yeah, we definitely haven't touched it in a while. Uh, it doesn't seem. Maybe I'm just not as far. It doesn't seem as grindy as D1.
No, they definitely. I mean,
Uh,
it's better. I wouldn't say it's
Yeah,
not.
well, I mean, it is an MMO. There is a grind, but
yeah,
I mean, getting to like the base max level and like maxing out most of your skill trees and stuff is
yeah,
nowhere near as bad as it was before.
It's easier. If you grinded Destiny for like maybe 2 weeks solid, you
yeah.
could reach max light easy. Compared to Destiny 1, it would take you much longer than that for sure.
Well, I remember in D1, we'd go to the Cosmodrome and we'd do those public events that would drop a special reward, but
Yeah,
it was
that was
Yeah.
very
the best way to
random.
do it.
And so we would all do that, and we'd do it for hours trying to get
Yeah.
this. I don't remember what it was, but it was something we needed for like armor or weapons or something.
I'm not entirely positive. Well, because I know, like with the lack, how hard the grindage was in Destiny 1. I mean, there was a famous loot cave in Destiny 1. I forget what it was,
Hmm.
what the
Yeah,
the name of it.
no, I mean, it was the loot cave in the Cosmodrome.
Yeah. Well,
You, but they patched that out in like a month.
and yeah. Ironically, they apparently within some of this new content that is making its way, coming up here pretty soon is they're bringing back Gallahorn, and I believe some of the quests, what do you, I guess you could say plot lines or, the how to get it is, I guess you're gonna have to go into that specific loot cave that was so iconic in Destiny 1 that everybody was milking at the time,
Yeah.
which is pretty neat. I think it's a little, I guess it's a neat
I mean,
addition to.
if true, yeah, I approve of that now. That's great.
Yep. What I like about, and I think they had it in D1 also, D2 when you're at the, I can't not remember the place where like all the stores and stuff, right? Where you pick up bounties, you can buy guns, armor, and stuff like that.
The
Yeah.
original tower, or
Not the original tower, the one in D2. Um,
Uh, whatever that camp is, I forget.
oh,
n- not the camp, the
the
tower.
farm.
Is it the no the tower that you're on?
Oh, that's just a part of the wall. I don't know what it's specific. They still call it the tower,
Okay, I thought
Yeah,
I
I had
think.
thought I had another name. I
no.
like when I get bored waiting on Josh. I love kicking that ball around.
Oh yeah,
Well, are you talking
Which
about the one inside the hangar? Because I know the farm, the original social space that was during the beginning of Destiny 2's lifespan, that had that little soccer field that you could kick the soccer ball
oh
around.
no, this one's on.
yeah. There's
This
one on the
one's
tower. There's a mall.
yep, yep.
Is
I
it the
bel
one in the hangar? I don't think I've ever really played
No,
with that
it's
one.
up. There's that like little bridge that's above you when you first spawn in.
Oh, I know what you're talking
It's
about.
yeah, it's sitting up
Yes.
there.
Yes, I know what you're talking
So
about.
I like that they brought in like those little detail elements, and then like once somebody starts kicking it around, it seems like two or three other people want to join in. So now you're all fighting over this stupid little ball.
Everybody's waiting on somebody.
Yes.
Yeah, no, for real. I mean, I think that's why they've made those emotes such a big thing too, just because it's such a hilarious thing to be doing in the social
Yes.
space while you're waiting on somebody.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely.
Trying to hug people and dance with them and stuff.
Well, yeah, what they just recently started adding in those emotes where you can actually interact with somebody, like those chest bumps. I'm not sure
Yep.
what else there is,
The
but
hugs is one. I think
is there
shaking
hugs?
hands is another one.
Which is that those are pretty unique. I think that's pretty hilarious.
I think it's just a nice little detail that they added to the game. What's nice also is from D1 to D2, a lot of games when they start making sequels, they start adding more into the series. Which this isn't a catch-all for everything because it's very different depending on who we're talking about. They take away features, and Bungie has actually added more to D2. They've put a lot of time into it.
They really have. At least the biggest thing for me in video games is customization, and I think one of the previous updates that have or seasons updates, what have you, is they added in a cos a better cosmetic option to where you can actually really deck out your character in whatever gear you really want him to wear. Because the biggest thing for me back in the day was the grind of Destiny and how harsh it has always been
Hmm.
is anytime a new content came out, you would specifically have to start looking like a scrub again. You would have to put on random pieces of gear to push that light level up, and you just look funky, right?
Right.
And one of the most recent contents that came out was they added the ability that looked at the back catalog to all the gear you've obtained. And a part of this content, you were able to earn like this, I would say, materials to build those cosmetic, like copy and paste. I don't know what the best word for it is.
They added transmogrify is the word you're looking
Yes,
for.
That's a big fucking word.
that's a
I mean,
really big word.
it is the word. It's
You're gonna,
mutating pieces into other pieces.
That for
is that the
me,
definition of it?
I mean, to be fair, I don't know if it's like an actual like word. I know it is the gamer terminology. I mean, like Diablo's done it for years, Diablo 3.
mm,
But I mean, that's what it is when you are able to mold the piece to typically some other piece you already have owned on some level, so you can make
yeah,
it more
Yeah.
cosmetically pleasing. Blah. Um,
yeah,
so you don't have like, this one like weird purple thing when the rest of you is like, brown or whatever.
Right.
yeah. I mean, because like dramatically, a lot of those armors have different looks to them, and you could look so funky with some of those random pieces you were forced to wear. And the fact that they added that, I mean, was a game changer for me, just because I always prided myself in how cool I could like, deck out my character
Right.
specifically, and that's at least in all the recent content was my favorite thing is they finally did that to where I have to look like a scrub.
Yeah, it's nice that they did bring a little bit more customization aspect into it. I think this would kind of I think this would hurt any other game if they didn't do this as well, but they not only brought in all the weapons from D1, they added more to it. And I don't know if it's something you can I think it's something you can run with any character of any faction. They like brought this sword in, and I absolutely love running around with this sword with my Titan and messing people up with it.
They actually that there when they, I think it was Destiny 2 first came out, there was three different swords specific to each character that only each character could wield, and you might be talking about the Titan one. That
Mm-hmm.
was actually obsolete for a while, and they recently brought those back. Those sword specific character builds to
Right.
where now they're viable again, which is cool because I like I said I've seen that Titan one and it's
Yeah.
epic.
Like I said, I mess people up with it all the time. I
Yeah.
have a blast with it. Between that and the super, where I hit. I don't remember what the controls are. I think it's right bumper, left bumper. Jumps up in the
Yeah,
air and then smashes the ground and essentially kills all the enemies around me.
yeah.
Between that and the sword, I, I mean that's true tanking in its
That
fashion.
those supers have created some of the most iconic content I've seen, like rummaging around on the rummaging around, seen circulating around on the internet. Like some people can pull off some crazy looking content doing those
Yeah.
supers, which is the
Right.
coolest thing.
Well, I mean, they're
Absolutely.
also, I mean, to its testament, they're also most of them at least. There might be one or two that aren't. They're like usually very satisfying to pull off.
They
Like,
are.
um, it's not, um, it's every time you do it, you get like a little rush, a little adrenaline
Mm-hmm.
bump, and as
Mhm.
long as you hit a couple of things, you usually feel pretty good about it.
Yep.
Oh, the worst. On that the worst part about activating those supers is when you waste it and you end up
Oh
killing
well, yeah. I mean,
yourself or
that's
gosh, that's like
Yes.
you have that shot of adrenaline, the satisfaction, or you could just totally miss your mark and just feel so dumb.
Yes.
yeah. I mean, we've all been there. Everyone's done it at
Yeah.
least once.
Something, and I think more and more games are starting to do this. And I remember D1 doing it, and I can specifically remember times in D2. Enemies don't rank up with you. There are certain enemies set to a specific rank, and you have to rank up to them to be able to fight them.
Yeah. I think most of the enemies who actually stay like at a typical level is like when
Right?
you're doing the free roam exploring, like
Yeah.
on those social spaces, grinding out little quests or whatnot. I believe those area specific enemies tend to stay at the original level, I think, of when you first start the game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
because that's the way they gate it. That's the way you're supposed to know whether or not you're supposed to be there.
Yeah.
yeah,
So you're level, 10 walking in out of 15. You're like, oh, probably shouldn't be here. I should turn around.
I remember when I first got into D2 and I'm running around Josh. He's light level 1060 and I'm, little old 750. And we're doing a public event and I can't even do anything. I'm literally just running around trying to be in the area of the public event because everything they do, it says immune, immune, immune. Well, all right, I'll just run around and look stupid.
Yeah.
yeah. That's actually a very common thing. It's actually pretty hilarious.
But I love that little
Oh,
touch that they added to that too. You know what I mean? It's not like these enemies are ranking up with you or you get so strong that you overpower all these enemies. It's you got to progress. You got to do better. You got to build your light up. You got to get stronger weapons to take on these
that
other
gives you
enemies.
incentive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
because like you said, remember when we were playing, and you're seeing me and those other people doing the public event. You're
Yep.
watching us wreck, and you're sitting over here like, well, I can't do anything.
And I'm fucking
like,
hiding because one hit kills me.
I was gonna say he probably wasn't supposed to be there,
No,
no,
no.
he definitely wasn't. I
but
don't know
hey,
why what we were
hang out, get
doing.
that XP.
That's
Yeah,
exactly what
hey,
I was
that's
doing.
that's the but. I mean, plus cool because yeah, the XP and you get those engrams that drop at the end, or even
Yeah.
during.
Yep. Oh man, the engrams. So there's these little deals. That, some of them you go get decoded, and they have like special armor and stuff in them. Uh, it's like a little present whenever you find these, and you get them decoded, and
I mean,
it's,
it's basically a mini loot box.
it
Yeah.
is. Um, I don't remember when I first started playing D2. There was these special engrams. I don't know if it was for an event that was going on. Do you remember, Josh?
There's been a lot of. I mean, are you talking about the ones you have to encrypt? I mean, because the ones that originally made their debut, the ones the decryptable ones, I think it was Prime Engrams,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was the
and
Prime.
then yeah, Prime Engrams, and then there's been a whole range of different ones due to the seasonal content.
Right.
Um, but it might have been Prime Engrams. Don't hold me to that. It could be that or another one where you had to go to a the
Mm-hmm.
I think there's the Drifter, and then there's the newer like because the Drifter originally had a little station where you could decrypt the special engrams, and then now I believe it's a new location called the Helm, where if
Mm-hmm.
you get these engrams, you go there to decrypt them. So it was either one of the two that you ran into, or one of the three, I should say, Prime or those other two.
No, yeah, I get that. um, I completely lost my train of thought.
You were mentioning about the satisfaction out of opening those engrams or
I mean,
whatnot.
yeah, those engrams were pretty tight when you'd get to open them up.
That I think that was probably one of the most gratifying rewards. I think the game has to offer even still is the hope to
Right.
Well,
get something awesome out of those engrams.
I was gonna say
Right.
it's kind of the only reward.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
literally the entire basis of the game. Shoot stuff, get engrams, go
yeah,
open
shoot
them.
stuff, get engrams, get your gear.
Hold on, hold on. Another satisfaction is when you go back to the tower and you go over to that lady that like magically's collected all the loot that you've missed, and you go and see what
That
you forgot.
that is a great feature.
That is actually
wholeheartedly
pretty
admit
cool.
that.
Could you imagine all that stuff you would have missed out on if they didn't do that?
90%
Gosh.
of that stuff I break it down, but it's still nice to know like if I did miss something important, hey,
Well,
here it
because
is.
most of that content that she has is
Yeah.
like gear, like little blue engrams, like just
Hmm.
worthless
Yeah.
gear that
She
you
won't
just
bank anything less than blue. Like she won't bank green or white.
Right.
She only picks up blue and higher.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so what's nice about Destiny 2 is they kept with the strikes and the raids, and they've added in because you could play the original raid, right? Or at one point you could.
Yeah, they brought in Vault of Glass. They brought it back.
Yeah,
It's
they brought it back.
considered because like a lot of people are like, "Oh, is this like new story content?" No, it's basically they're bringing back old content that is just like I said, the vaulted content is just
Right.
to revisit this old content. Like they brought back old strikes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I think like one some original strikes from Destiny 1 they brought back just back recently. I mean, it's just revisitable content. Has
Yeah.
no impact on current story if people are into the Destiny lore or the story itself, but it's just brought back to appease the people who really wanted to play that stuff again.
Yeah. Because you could always go to the moon in D2, but they recently brought back the Cosmodrome.
Yes.
And I remember me and you were going through the Cosmodrome when they first brought it back, and it was nuts because I hadn't played Destiny in, gosh, it's probably been
At least a year
six or
or two.
7 years. No, Destiny
Yeah.
1, D1.
Oh.
It's
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
been 7 years. And so now going back to the Cosmodrome, and now I'm looking at all these places like, holy shit, yeah, we used to fuck around over here. I've
Yeah.
got my ass kicked right here before.
It's nice. I mean, not a lot of game developers out there will do that kind of stuff, which is pretty cool. But that was bittersweet, being able to kind of like rummage through your old stomping grounds and be like, whoa,
Right.
gosh, remember that? Oh.
Yeah. That giant frog thing at the Cosmodrome that you fight as a public event.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that has me more interested in what else they could possibly bring back when it comes to those social spaces
Yeah.
to explore.
Yeah, that would be really cool. So I was just looking around, poking around, and on IGN, Destiny D1 got a 7.8 out of 10, and D2, oh, it doesn't have it. On GameSpot, D2 got 8 out of 10. You guys agree with those ratings for the
Yes.
games?
I mean, I would probably put Destiny 1 at like a 7 maybe.
Really? You would bring it down?
Yeah, there was not a whole lot to do in that game at launch. I mean, because that's the thing, that review is for the base game
Right.
day one,
Right.
and that Destiny 1, Destiny 1 in particular, ran out of content fast.
It did. I will agree with that. It did run out of
And
content fast.
and Destiny
It
2 more or
definitely
less
did.
did the same. It had more and it was better, but it
Hmm.
still ran out pretty quick, and everybody was waiting for, the raid and the first expansion and yada yada yada.
Okay. So, Josh.
Um,
Okay, go ahead. Sorry, Brandon.
but I mean, Destiny 2 is probably the eight's probably fair, but I'd bring down Destiny 1 a little bit.
I can't say I'd bring down Destiny 1 a little bit. Just I mean, I'm more complicated when it comes to like things that should be not liked and
Hmm.
liked, but I utterly enjoyed Destiny 1 for some reason, minus all of its I don't know. I'm strange when it comes to that stuff, but I think it's a fair estimate. I mean, at least for the first,
Okay.
and what the second one also offers and what they scored it as. I'm fine with that. Those scores as a whole.
So I'd honestly bring Destiny 1 up a little bit to a solid 8 instead of a 7.8. Because, like, I'm looking at the game as a whole. Yeah, it did run out of content very quickly. You're not wrong at all about that, Brandon. But back for when it came out, 2014, it was a beautiful game. It was a game on console that wasn't necessarily like any other game out at that time. So it brought a little bit of originality with it. I'd give it an
Yeah,
8. You know what I mean? It's in 2014 when it came out. It was almost like uncharted territory, and I thought they did really well with what they had at that time. The con
absolutely.
the content definitely could have been there. I'm not going to argue that at all, Brendan. But I thought, for when it came out, solid game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I had to like pinpoint it, I would say maybe the reason why I wouldn't downgrade its score at all is I
Hmm.
think it's the memorable stuff with my friends.
Yeah.
Destiny 1 for me that
Oh,
I
Josh is getting
think
sentimental.
it's that's the point, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what makes any game that has a multiplayer co-op, what have you, that can hold a score personally for you is that
Yeah.
if you have those experiences with another, group of guys or whatever,
Yeah.
which Destiny 1 had a lot of that for me.
Yeah. Absolutely. And
So,
then,
I mean, they both had it for me, but
yeah.
it's I don't know. I guess I always tend to take a more critical eye to things.
Yeah, and
Uh,
you always have.
yeah, I know.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
me. I'm not.
I
Yeah,
appreciate that most about you because that's how I find most of my games anyway. So
absolutely.
I mean, that's the
And
thing. I'm much more critically discerning, and again, this is like a 7 out of 10 is by no means bad,
no,
and it's not
Mhm.
like I hated it or anything. But like to me, 8 out of 10 means it's like it has to hit some kind of a benchmark, and I'll agree that Destiny 2 probably got there.
hmm
I'm okay with that 8, but the first game just did not get there for me.
okay, that's fair. Destiny 2, I can't really say much about because I haven't played it. I think I've got maybe 6 hours into it. So I don't want to
yeah,
give a review on it, something that I haven't played a lot of. So I'll agree with keeping it at the 8 that we've all said.
absolutely.
Um, all right, so kind of wrap this up. Brendan, are you playing anything new this week, these past couple weeks? Are you still playing? I completely forgot the name of the game you were playing
I'm
last week.
still playing Persona 5 Royal, and just to timestamp it,
Yes.
the last episode, I believe I said it was like 30 some hours, 33 hours in.
Yeah.
As of today, before I signed on, I am at 98,
Holy shit.
96,
Ah,
and I'm still not done. I'm a lot closer though.
Oh,
yeah.
good.
Hey.
I'm I definitely can tell that I'm near the end of the game now, but
Well,
yeah,
this
There's
keep
a
hope.
light at the end of the tunnel.
I am fucking chin deep in
That's
Persona
great.
5 Royal.
Right.
Don't know
Jo-
what I'm gonna play after it though.
well, you have to figure out something, huh?
I will.
Yeah. Josh, what about you? You still doing Mass Effect?
I'm currently still running Mass Effect. I mean, I messed up a few times in the second one, the second Mass Effect, so it's kind of hindered me completing it.
Yeah, killing your
Uh,
chick.
um, no, yeah. I think I told you about it. Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm
Willing
currently
the game for
still,
him.
I'm currently still in Mass Effect. I would have been done, but I made some critical errors.
Oh, good. It's always nice to hear.
Tim, you.
So, since
Aside
our
from the
last
fact we alluded
episode,
to.
um, I have since picked up Mass Effect. I think I've got a few hours into it. I'm thoroughly enjoying it so far.
Well, that's good. It's a good
Yep.
start.
Um,
It is amazing game.
I definitely want to play more of it. Uh, I love my simulators, so I have moved back on to Farm Simulator. My dad started a server, and I'm playing with him on there. And then, of course, every now and then, Josh and I play Warzone when I can actually load into a game.
Oh
Because you hate
gosh.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
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 self harm.
it's the best way to feel better about yourself, I guess.
I don't want to touch on Warzone too much, but it is definitely an abusive relationship.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Anybody who's ever experienced an abusive relationship would know.
Absolutely what that is.
Yep.
100%.
So I think that's going to do it for this episode. Next week,
Yeah.
or next
Next
episode,
episode.
we're going to actually change it up a little bit because, why be consistent at all? We're
Yeah.
actually going to go
Random.
in random.
And hey, that's how it should be. We're all just random anyways, right?
Who knows if we're even going to put out episodes next, all right? We're just going to throw
Right.
everybody off.
Hey, we'll see you guys a year later on our next
Yep.
episode, all right?
Yep, this is going to be a bi-yearly
Yeah.
podcast. Get used to it. No, in all seriousness, next time we're actually going to go over remasters. We're each going to pick a game and talk about the game that we would like to see remastered. I am personally looking forward to that.
That's going to be some fun stuff right there.
That is, it's definitely going to be a walk down memory lane.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, like I said, I think that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you guys join us next time. I hope you guys enjoyed this time. You can catch us we're on YouTube now, Spotify, Apple Podcast. You can check out our Twitter at CO Gaming Podcast. Our links will be in the description. Give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Give
Yes,
us a
please.
thumbs up and a follow or thumbs up and a subscribe on YouTube. Follow our podcasts on Spotify, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks.
Later, guys.
Bye.